Hey, Mike Matthews here from Legion Athletics and Muscle for Life. And in this video, we're going to talk pre-workout nutrition, specifically how important is it to eat before your workouts and what should you be eating and why. Now, if you've been kicking around in the bodybuilding space for any period of time, you have probably heard that if you do not eat before you work out, and in particular before you do a resistance training workout, you are missing out on an opportunity to accelerate muscle growth. Now, when you dive into the science, you find out that that is not exactly true. It is not universally true. However, it is not completely untrue either. As you're going to learn in this video, pre-workout nutrition is not as important as some people would have you believe, but it is not completely without merit either. And to understand why, we have to start this discussion with something called protein turnover, which is the balance between the amount of proteins that are being degraded, that are being broken down, versus the amount of proteins that are being created or being synthesized. And in the context of this conversation, we're going to be referring specifically or looking specifically at muscle proteins, because that's really what we care about if we're talking about pre-workout nutrition. Now, when you are generally healthy, your body does a good job regulating protein turnover, does a good job keeping protein synthesis and protein degradation rates more or less equal. Of course, you do lose muscle over time if you don't do anything to maintain it. So degradation rates do slightly outpace synthesis rates over the long term, but if you were to look at it on a day-to-day basis, it would look more or less the same. Studies show that protein synthesis, protein creation rates decline during exercise, and that is seen in both resistance training and cardiovascular training. And after you work out, protein synthesis rates rise, but protein degradation, protein breakdown rates rise as well, and they rise rapidly, eventually outpacing protein synthesis rates. So what this means then is that exercise is a catabolic activity, meaning that it results in the breakdown of complex molecules like proteins into less complex ones like amino acids. Now, if we want to gain muscle though, we need the opposite to occur. We need the body to take amino acids and form them into new muscle proteins to make our muscles bigger and stronger. And that's why that we want to do as many things as we can to ensure that muscle protein synthesis rates exceed muscle protein breakdown rates. If we can do that, we will gain muscle over time. And physiologically speaking, that's all muscle gain is. Muscle gain results from protein synthesis rates exceeding protein breakdown rates for extended periods of time. And that brings us to pre-workout nutrition, of course, which is commonly touted as a way to do just that. And what you need to know here is, if you have not eaten protein, which stimulates protein synthesis rates, when you eat protein, it tells your body to start creating new proteins, what we want, right? So if you have not eaten protein in, let's say, the 3 to 4 hours preceding your workout, then yes, it is smart to have 30-ish grams of high quality protein before your workout. If, however, you have already had a decent amount of protein in the few hours leading up to your workout, then you don't have to have more before you train. You can simply have some after, within an hour or so. Now, why? Why do I recommend that you have some protein before a workout if you have not eaten protein, at least a fair amount of protein in the 3 to 4 hours leading up to it? Well, while there is evidence that having protein before a workout can magnify the workout's effects on protein synthesis rates, I don't think it's strong enough to really make an argument for having to have protein before the workouts. The effects seem to be fairly negligible, and so much so that even if you played them out over a long period of time, which is always the way that you have to look at it, especially as a natural weightlifter, it's still probably not going to make that much of a difference. So instead, we have to look at this more in context of our diets on the whole. So what happens is when we eat a fair amount of protein, let's say it's anywhere from 30 to 50 grams of protein, and depending on what we eat that protein with, our body is going to work through it in, let's say, 2.5 to 6 hours. Again, depending on how much protein, what type it is, and the composition of the meal on the whole. But within 2.5 to probably about 6 hours, our body is going to have completely processed all of the protein that we ate. And a fair average based on most people's diets is 3 to 4 hours. So what that means then is that 3 to 4 hours after eating, our body's muscle building machinery is now idle. It's now waiting for the next dose of protein so it can kick into gear and help us build more muscle. Now, ideally, then, that's when you'd have another dose of protein. So we could keep our body's muscle building machinery, so to speak, working at all times. Now, of course, it's not as simple as, oh, then just eat protein every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes or even every 60 minutes. There are a number of studies that have shown that, I don't want to get into the details here, but it's not that simple. When you look at the research on protein timing, which if you do want to learn more about this, click the link in the description down below to check out my article on this, or if you're listening and not watching, just head over to Muscle for Life and search for protein timing. But according to, and this is not just me saying this, but there are other people that know a lot more about this stuff than I do, like Dr. Eric Helms, for example, has spoken about this, that according to the evidence that we have, it looks like the best overall strategy for protein timing is around 30 to 40 grams of high quality protein every 4 hours or so. If you do that, you will get the most muscle building bang for your protein's buck, so to speak, and you'll keep your body's muscle building machinery working as efficiently as possible. So let's say you ate a fair amount of protein, 30 to 50 grams, and 6 hours later, you do a workout. No protein in between. What that means then is you are going into that workout with muscle protein synthesis rates at a low baseline level. And then because of the nature of the exercise, those protein synthesis rates are going to go even lower and protein breakdown rates are going to start ramping up. Now, that's not the end of the world, of course, because you could eat a meal after you train and reverse that. But if you have protein before you train, you are going to benefit in two ways. One, you are going to gain muscle building time, so to speak, because there is, for most people, let's say it would be about a 3-hour window between the time they would eat that pre-workout meal and the time that they would eat that post-workout meal. Because if you just factor in, okay, so you eat the food and then you drive to the gym, you do your workout, you drive home, you prepare your food, or you drive to wherever and you get your food, I think 3 hours is a fair assumption. And in that time, however, if you were to have had, let's say 20 to 30 grams of whey protein, your body will have processed it by the time you are ready to eat that post-workout meal. So you will have gained you could think of it as a cycle, a physiological cycle of muscle gain. And furthermore, like I mentioned earlier, there is evidence that your body may get a slight anabolic boost from the workout when it's combined with protein. And that's probably, at least in part, why some studies have found that having protein before workouts does result in more muscle growth than doing those workouts in a fasted state. Now, I do want to reiterate here, though, that if you have eaten a fair amount of protein in the few hours leading up to your workout, especially if it's an hour or so, maybe 2 hours before you work out, amino acids will still be in your bloodstream, protein synthesis rates will still be elevated, and you do not need to eat more protein. And this has been verified in research as well. Research has shown that when you are fed, when you're in this fed state, eating more protein is not going to help you gain muscle faster. Okay, so what about carbs? Should you eat carbs before you work out? And the short answer here is yes. A number of studies have shown that having carbs 15 to 60 minutes before you work out will help you push harder in those workouts, and it may also aid in recovery and muscle growth as well. And the primary reason for this is simple. It comes down to glucose, blood sugar, right? So you eat carbs, your glucose levels spike. And studies show that the more glucose is available, this is immediate energy that's available to be burned, the better you are going to perform in your workouts, and especially longer workouts. Studies also show that elevating blood glucose levels helps preserve muscle glycogen, glycogen being a form of carbohydrate that is stored primarily in the muscles in the liver and is the primary source of energy during anaerobic activities like weightlifting, especially intense weightlifting. So when you are pushing hard in a workout and your body's and your muscles' energy demands are outpacing its ability to supply energy via the aerobic system using oxygen, it taps into muscle glycogen to get the energy it needs to keep doing what you want to do. Now, what this means then is the more you deplete your muscles' glycogen levels, the more you're going to see a drop off in performance. So by eating carbs for a workout, which then helps preserve glycogen levels, you are able to maintain better performance for longer periods of time. Lastly, research also suggests that higher muscle glycogen levels improves certain aspects of cellular signaling related to muscle growth. So in other words, your body's muscle building machinery seems to work better when muscle glycogen levels are higher. Now, I mentioned that eating carbs before a workout can help you gain muscle faster, and just to clarify that, research is clear that it doesn't directly help you gain muscle faster. Carbohydrate is not anabolic. However, by helping you push harder in your workouts and by improving your performance in your workouts, that can help you gain muscle faster over time if you take advantage of it and if you program correctly and make sure you're recovering and so forth. Okay, so if eating carbs before you work out is a good idea, how much, what types, when? Well, studies show that for our purposes, and by our, I mean us weightlifting peoples and not like hardcore endurance athletes, about 30 to 40 grams of any type of carbohydrate eaten about 30 minutes before a workout gets the job done. And yes, that means that you don't have to buy any overpriced carbohydrate supplements, which are almost always just cheap, simple sugars sold at extreme markups. You can have whatever you like to have. I like to have a banana or two for my pre-workout carbs. For my pre-workout protein, I have a scoop or a scoop and a half of whey protein isolate, and I'll have that along with a banana or two. Usually it depends what I'm doing with my diet. If I'm cutting, I'll have one banana. If I am maintaining or bulking, I will usually have 2 bananas. Lastly, what about dietary fat? Should you have some dietary fat before you work out? And the answer here is you can, but you don't have to. I know there are several theories out there about how eating fat before a workout can improve performance, but the literature disagrees. You can find a good summary of this in a paper published by scientists at Deakin University. Here's the conclusion. Thus, it would appear that while such a strategy can have a marked effect on exercise metabolism, i.e. reduced carbohydrate utilization, there is no beneficial effect on exercise performance. In other words, if you eat fat before you work out, you will burn more fat during the workout because that is more of what is available, but it is not going to improve your workout performance. And just to clarify even further, when I say you will burn more fat in the workout, I mean that in a very literal sense. Not burn more body fat, but you will burn more fat. Your energy, for a larger percentage of the energy burned in the workout, of course, is going to come from the dietary fat that you just ate, which is very energy dense. A gram of dietary fat contains about 9 calories worth of energy, whereas a gram of carbohydrate contains about 4. Okay, so the bottom line here on pre-workout nutrition is that nutrient timing on the whole, whether we are talking eating before a workout, after a workout, before you wake up, first thing in the morning, whatever, is far less important than getting the fundamentals right, getting your energy balance right, getting your macronutrient balance right. Once you have those things down, though, it makes sense to look further and see if you can optimize your diet to get more out of it. And that's where nutrient timing and pre-workout nutrition and all the rest comes into it. Fortunately, it is not very complicated and can be summarized like this. 1, eat some protein and carbs every few hours. 2, have some protein and carbs before you train if you have not eaten in a bit. 3, have some protein and carbs after you work out and sooner rather than later. 4, make sure you are eating enough dietary fat every day, which if you want to learn more about, click on the link down in the description below to check out an article I wrote on this. And if you are listening to this, head over to Muscle for Life and search for dietary fat. And 5, lastly, make sure that you get the majority of your calories from relatively unprocessed, nutritious foods that you have to prepare yourself. And by majority, I say 80% or more of your daily calories from those foods. If you can do those things, then from a muscle building perspective, and in many ways from a general health perspective, you will have it made. Okay, well, that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, please do spread the word. Please do send this video to friends and family and anybody you think could benefit from it and tell them about what I'm doing. Word of mouth is incredibly helpful. It really does make a big difference. And also, please do give this video a like if you did indeed like it, and drop a comment down below letting me know what you thought. And please do share your experiences with pre-workout nutrition. How has it worked for you? What are your favorite pre-workout meals and so forth? Let me and everybody else know. And also, if you want to support me even more to the utmost, click the red subscribe button over there. It's free, of course, and then click the bell next to it, and YouTube will notify you when my next video goes live. All right, that's it for now, and I will see you in that next video.